So under Constantine, you're looking around around about the 5th century AD. The Roman Empire goes officially Christian. Let's rewind a bit, though. Let's go back to an era about 70 years after Jesus' birth. Something really important ends up happening, and that's that you finally have another messianic figure arise. But this Messiah says that, oh yeah, I'm the real deal, in that I'm going to lead a military revolt against the Romans. Ooh, bad idea. Because there is a full-scale revolt. Not all the Jewish people are behind it, but enough are. And it actually looks for a little bit like they might have actually succeeded in maybe driving the Romans out. Until reinforcements arrive. Remember how I said the thing the Romans always told the people they conquered was, look, just pay your taxes, say a prayer to the emperor, and don't revolt. Well, the Romans decided to make an example of the Jewish people about what happens when you revolt. So after crushing the rebellion in no uncertain terms, the Romans then in turn drive all the Jews out of Jerusalem and Judea. And they burn the temple to the ground, to the point that there's only one wall still standing on the western portion of where the temple used to exist. And the Romans say to the Jewish people, okay, you're not allowed to come back here again. Except once a year, you can make a pilgrimage back to the site of your old temple. You can't rebuild it, but you can go back to where it used to be. And you can go to that last standing western wall, look at it, and cry. That's why it is still known to this day in some circles as the Wailing Wall, which incidentally is actually a fairly derogatory term. Don't use it within any sort of context except describing these sorts of things. But yeah, you can go back and you can cry. Don't fuck with the Romans is really the kind of the overall message of this. So yeah, the Jews are once again driven from their homeland. The temple is once again destroyed. The center of Judaic life is destroyed. A second diaspora has begun. And this diaspora, technically, continues to this day. So this is over 2,000 years ago. 2,000 years in exile. Yes, you do have the State of Israel now, which was founded in the mid-20th century. So the Jews have returned to their ancestral homeland. But the thing is, as far as the Judaic religion is concerned, they still haven't really returned until that temple gets rebuilt. There's one thing that's really interfering with that, though, and that has to do with a certain building that was erected at the site of the old temple. A place called the Dome of the Rock, which happens to be the third holiest site in Islam. Because long after this all ends up happening, the Muslim empires arise and take over the area of Judea and maintain control of it all the way up through to the mid-20th century. So, yeah, third holiest site in Islam. Smack dab at the site of the old temple. Now remember, the temple must exist for proper Orthodox classic Judaism to be able to really exist the way it's supposed to, according to traditionalist beliefs. It must be at the exact same location that it was before. Must be. And you can't just build it around this Dome of the Rock or whatever else. The Dome of the Rock has to be destroyed in order for the third temple to be built. And it's understood by Israeli authorities that destroying the Dome of the Rock would basically probably end up triggering World War III. Okay. So it's been very much in the vested interest of pretty much everybody in the region that the Dome of the Rock not be destroyed and that the temple not be rebuilt. Hasn't stopped a number of different groups, though, from trying to destroy it anyway. Basically, you've had various attempts by Christian terrorists and Jewish terrorists who have attempted to bomb the dome that have been thwarted by the Israeli government. These are people, in the case of the Christians, these are people who believe, according to the book of Revelation, that Jesus will not return until the temple is rebuilt. So they're basically kind of trying to force history or force God's hand by bombing it. So it's a touchy subject, to say the least. So you ever hear about the Dome of the Rock in the news, pay attention. But yeah, let's go back again to that whole fact of the temple being destroyed. Second temple is destroyed, and the Second Diaspora has begun. All right, this is really the birth of the Judaism that we know of today. Okay, rabbinical Judaism got its start initially during the First Diaspora, but it was really codified in the format that we know today in the Second Diaspora. And really, it's the whole Jewish identity of being a people in exile is very firmly established. So the thing to keep in mind about everything that's said about the Jews from this point on is it's always said in the context of them being a people without a home, of them being always a culture within some other culture that is almost always, at best, ambivalent towards them, at worst, actively hostile towards them. For 2,000 years. So if you want to know why the hatred towards the Jews runs so deep, it seems, in a lot of cases, if you want to know why it is also seen so incomprehensible where this stuff even comes from, it's important to note that it's been around and been developing for a very, very long time. And tomorrow, I'm going to talk more about what exactly ends up developing over those 2,000 years in terms of anti-Jewish attitudes. I will try to condense that 2,000 years into roughly an hour or two's worth of lectures tomorrow, and we will then end up moving on to the race section. So I will see you then.